This is Declan McGonigal with the My Beach Business Podcast, where we talk with local business owners and investors on a variety of subjects. I hope you enjoy the show, and thanks for listening. All right, episode 5, I believe here. 4? Episode 4. Episode 4, I've got my man Eric Bitetto. I met Eric, and I'll give a quick shout out to GBN, Greater Business Networking. I met him through that. Great networking group, but regardless, I'm here with Eric Bitetto. Eric, why don't you give him a little rundown of your background?
Absolutely.
What you do.
Declan, thanks for having me. Where do I begin? I'm originally from Queens, just outside of New York City. Moved down to Myrtle Beach in 2020, June of 2020. The wife and I were looking for some change, some better weather, lower taxes, a little bit more normalcy.
Yeah.
So
What year was it that you moved down
This was
there?
June of 2020.
2020, gotcha. Crazy times.
Yeah, crazy times, exactly. So we came down here, just kind of give it a shot, see, if the South was for us, and it was. We've built a great life here in the last 3 years. What allowed me to come here and just kind of make this, because it was a seamless transition, make that seamless transition was my business that I was running was able to be done remotely. And I was able to really run a virtual business. And, I've been in finance and insurance since 2014, so a decade in this business. And over the last 4 years, since 2018, I started to digitize my practice and my process. And this is, prior to the COVID situation that came about. Totally unrelated, but I had a mentor back in New York, up on Long Island, who was basically running a digital office. Had no paper files. Everything was scanned and uploaded to a cloud, and he was like really encouraging me to do that. So I did that. Kind of took followed his lead on that. Hired some help to get that all done, and that really prepared us for this journey that we've gone on, that led us to Myrtle Beach in 4 years ago, almost already.
It's crazy that 2020 was only 4 years ago.
Dude, right?
It seems so quick.
I kind of say that it's been both like super slow and super fast at the same time. It's been like a blur, but it's also been moving in kind of slow motion. Like, you have that dream and you're trying to like run away from something, or you're trying to throw a ball or swing a sword and you just can't. Like, it's kind of moved like that. But we've been really blessed, because unlike a lot of people where these last 3 years have been really challenging, for us it's been a completely different experience. It's been great coming down here to Myrtle Beach, and we've just really built a whole new network of friends and family, and life was a little bit more normal here, so it was easier to do that. I talk with people back home in New York, family, friends, and they've lived a completely different experience than what we have here. Yeah,
it's crazy. Same country, you'd think it's
unbelievable,
very similar, but it's not.
Yeah, no. So so we're here, and for the first year and a half, I was just working on my business remotely, earbuds, laptop, coffee shop, and servicing my clients that I already had up in the New York, New Jersey tri-state area. And it wasn't until January of 2022 where I was like pretty locked in. We knew Myrtle Beach was going to be the place, and I made the decision to begin developing a local footprint here.
Wow, that's awesome. So you're in the financial advisement business and insurance, right? Can you give a little breakdown of what that means? Because I feel like that can be a pretty wide range of services that you can provide.
Oh, absolutely.
Is it everything, or do you stay very narrow in your products? What does that look like?
Absolutely. Thanks for the question. It is kind of confusing for for anyone that's not in this space. I'm like, well, what does that mean?
Yeah.
So so the practice has grown, and it has evolved over the past decade. I started off in 2014 with a really narrow lens of offering life insurance and some fixed investment products exclusively through New York Life. And I was affiliated with them for 9 years. But very early on in the business, I realized after introducing myself and introducing myself as someone affiliated with New York Life, you get the I have that.
Yeah.
I'm all set.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm like, well, have what?
Yeah.
I haven't even said anything.
Yeah.
Yet,
Yeah.
So I experienced that more than once,
Yeah.
and I was like, this is not what I want.
Yeah.
I don't want to be the life insurance guy.
Right.
quote
Right.
unquote.
Is that what you think it is? Is you think they're just so obviously they've got a good brand, but they're
Yes.
so associated with life insurance?
Absolutely.
Gotcha. Okay.
The brand is fantastic. It's a great company, a very, very reputable company with great financials. But yeah, I mean, that's what they do.
Yeah. And you wanted to be more.
Sure. Companies come with certain, affiliations, or you think of a brand, you think of a product, and that's kind of the thing with New York Life. So I knew that early on that I wanted to kind of expand and eventually move on from them, and kind of grow into this kind of broader, more comprehensive and holistic financial planner, which I started on that. It's a long journey, but I started on it early. I started getting my securities licenses, which allowed me to offer market connected, market based products, so mutual funds and different types of variable products. And then I moved on from there and began running a more of a fee-based practice, which is different in the sense where there's a much less of a bias when you're working on a fee-based model, because it doesn't matter what services or what solutions you choose, your compensation is going to be the same.
Right.
So that's what you find when you're dealing with, if you've ever heard the word fiduciary. A fiduciary is someone who's held to the highest standard and is to be acting in their client's best interests all the time. And when you're working on a fee-based model and you can charge a planning fee or charge to manage someone's money just a flat rate, all the partiality is removed. The bias is removed. I'm not going to sell this product over that product because that product is going to comp me at a higher.
I see what you're saying. Yeah, I see what you're saying.
And when you're not, because you have to have certain securities licenses to do that. You can't just do that, right? So you have to have your Series 7. You have to have another series license called the 66 before you can work on a fee-based in a fee-based model. So prior to that, all the securities products, all the insurance products, everything was commission-based.
Okay.
And as good as anyone is, and as much as someone may run a kind of straight and narrow practice, still commissions get in the way, and there's always temptation when one product from one carrier is offering a certain amount of comp and the other one is offering another amount of comp that might be less.
Gotcha. Okay. So. I see. Very interesting. Yeah, that's a good way to put it. I feel like commission, taken away from that, I guess commission can work in some. I think there's some industries where it works well, but I totally understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
Where in this it may not be, it may not work towards the client's best interest.
Correct.
If it's not. So I see what you're saying there.
Absolutely.
Gotcha.
So now where we are now, fast forward from a decade or so in that journey is now we meet with our clients, and we're asking a broad range of questions. We want to understand, what's under the hood, so to speak, what's going on with their money. What does their cash flow look like? What kind of income do they have coming in?
Right.
What kind of expenses do they have going out? What type of investments and retirement have they already put into place? And when we have all that information, we're in a better position to make an assessment and make suggestions as far as planning for them. And that's something that has grown. And we've moved to that place over the years,
Right.
Where I wasn't always doing that.
Yeah.
It's a process.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
But now we're doing our best to, kind of look at this from an eagle-eyed view, and then kind of hone in on what each and every person's concerns are and pain points, and putting things in place to help them with.
So what does your ideal client look like? Like, who's the person, they walk through the door, who's that person that you're like, okay, we're a good fit for you, I'm going to be able to help you? And then what are those, I guess, steps that you're taking them through, or maybe that initial process that they go through to figure out, what you're trying to, what their goals are and how you're trying to help them?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a good question, and it could be answered in a lot of different ways. But I think an ideal client is someone that is successful, has income and has assets, but they're not quite sure with how to manage them. A business owner, for example, is really great at what they do, and they spend so many hours working, in their business and on their business, but they're not, maybe they're not in a place where they have a full grasp on how to properly manage their money,
right,
and how to manage their wealth, and build additional wealth.
Right.
They don't.
So this is a building thing. This is not a, we're going to go hit a home run on Bitcoin tomorrow and then make $1 million and retire a year later. This is something where maybe, like you said, they're making money. They've got some savings, and let's figure out a plan over the next few years, next few decades, to get you to a good spot.
I think that the answer to that is yes and no. It's really going to depend on each individual person and what they're coming to the table with.
Gotcha.
We're looking at them, from the scope of their age. What are their investment goals? What's the time horizon we're working with? So there might be that ultra aggressive type of investor that is looking for alternative investment strategies. And I am personally I take an approach to planning with my clients where I'm not opposed to alternative strategies. So you mentioned Bitcoin, and I am I would say more of a trailblazer. I'm in that I'm in that space where I'm thinking out of the box, and we're going to utilize crypto assets because I do see, I see that.
Here we go.
I see that the future is, is bright. For crypto as an asset class, and I think there's potential for
definitely
for people to do well. And certainly not an overnight thing. Because, and I always stress how volatile crypto is. As a lot of other asset classes are tremendously volatile.
Yeah, definitely. I was thinking about it just from like the real estate perspective. I'm like, okay, because you can go flip stuff, you can do rental properties, you can buy and hold and just get the appreciation. I'm thinking, all right, if you're going to flip something, you're getting something quick. Is there like do you prefer like a really aggressive, what do you like more, the kind of that aggressive strategy, or... like you said, I know it depends on their goals, but is one or the other more interesting or fun for you?
For me personally,
to plan?
For me personally, I like to move, with more aggressive investment strategies. That's how I approach the markets personally. I mean, I'm always taking in the information that I'm getting from the outside, from my just people sharing content from all the money managers I work with, all the investment firms. My email, my inbox is full weekly with market updates and market outlooks, and from all the different investment firms that we utilize to help plan for our clients. So I take that stuff in and kind of look at where the markets are going from, just kind of economic data, jobs and,
a bunch of,
consumer price index and all that stuff, and just kind of see like where things are going with inflation and interest rates, because that stuff all kind of plays a role in what's going to happen.
There's a lot of it. How do you keep it all organized? Like, what's your?
I will take 1 or 2 pieces per week and consume them. It's really difficult for me to stop and read all of that stuff. But I think as long as I'm keeping, my finger on the pulse of what's going on in the markets and what's being reported, data that's coming out. I mean, unemployment data, came out this morning, and, it was uneventful. There really wasn't that much change, but just kind of keeping my ears kind of open and my eyes peeled on what's going on, and that will help me be more prepared in the conversations I'm having with clients, and it may affect the decision that I make for me and our family personally. But I think, to get back to your question, as an investor personally, I kind of lean more towards aggressive asset classes.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So equities, growth stocks, tech, crypto, and real estate I'm a huge fan of.
What's your opinion on, so I'm 25, I'm on the younger side. I hope I have a lot of years ahead of me. I know I do. But my philosophy, and maybe this is just the young ego, but my philosophy, I think when you're young, you should be aggressive. It's kind of your time to go get after stuff. It's you've got very little to lose. You're not... Me personally, I'm not tied down with necessarily kids or family. I'm not, this is my time. I can move around. I eventually want to settle in and have a family and have a home base.
Sure.
But early on here, I feel like all the wind is in my favor. The wind's hitting my sails in terms of I can be aggressive here. Do you think that may be a little different on the saving side? Do you think that's a good way for young people to approach it? Like if you had a young person coming to you, kind of in my situation, would you, and they're asking for advice, would you say maybe the aggressive approach could be a good philosophy?
The simple answer to that question is yes. For younger investors who have a lot of time, and time is on your side, you're able to kind of ride tremendous waves, but also deal with these market pullbacks and these peaks and valleys. The asset is time and your ability to recover from market losses. And if you look at the data, going back 100 years, someone who has, taken an aggressive approach in the markets, or if you even just look at, the S&P 500 index as a barometer, over 100 years, it's averaged roughly 8%, so, and probably a little bit more. And it's only been negative just about a third of that, of those years. So it's been positive and in the green over 70 years out of 100. So I think that just kind of backs the thesis of investing aggressively as a younger person. You have a lot of time on your side, a lot of time to invest consistently, systematically, and build on that through compounding gains and interest.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's tremendous success stories of 20-somethings starting, with something as simple as a Roth IRA, and putting, several thousand a year in it, and, that can compound
Yeah,
to several hundred
that's.
thousand.
I feel
over
like
the course of 30
that's the
years.
only like cheat code, if you will, is the compounding interest, right? Like you
Mm-hmm.
see, I mean, even Warren Buffett's. I don't remember the numbers exactly, but you look at his. I mean, he had a good chunk of change, I think, when he first started investing. But oh my gosh, when he hit, I think he started around 18 or so, and
Yeah.
when he hit 40, 50, it just blew up,
Yeah.
right? Because it's gone from pennies to millions.
But I do think that for younger people, there should be a split strategy. I think there should be a longer term strategy,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
and I think there should be a short term
Right.
strategy.
Right.
Because you're not going to want to have all of your money in a qualified retirement plan, like an IRA. Because once those funds are in there, you can't touch them without penalty
Yeah.
for a long time. So if you have short to midterm kind of goals that
Yeah.
you're trying to achieve, you want to go with a more traditional taxable investment account where your money is liquid
Yeah.
and you can reach it in say 3 to 5 years if there's something that you're building towards and working
Yeah.
towards in the short term.
Yeah. Do you see people? So I was in a group the other day, and we were talking about just like time and like how everything today feels like whatever it is, goals, success, whatever it is, like everyone's pushing you to do it quickly.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that's got something to do with attention span and social media. Right. We go through these quick videos, and we like quick. Dopamine hits, right?
Yeah.
And I feel like that's kind of the
way to
same.
put it.
Yeah, I feel like it's kind of the same with, at least I feel it on my end. I feel like I've got to be successful tomorrow, or I'm doing something wrong because I go on social media and I see some 20-year-old and
Standing next to a Learjet.
yeah, right. And you're like, how is this dude? I mean,
Right?
what does he have that I don't?
Hey, Chris and I talk about this all the time.
Yeah, it's wild. But have you seen that from like clients coming on being like, it seems like they want to push it quicker?
Not really.
No.
No. I wish I had.
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know?
yeah.
I mean, I'm sure they'd be fun people to kind of
Right.
talk with and work with, or
Right.
not. You
Right.
know, they
Yeah.
could be kind of scattered too.
Yeah. Well, I'm saying more so
know?
like like clients that come on their expectations, or have their expectations been like, oh no, that's 7%. What is 7%? We want 20% this year and then 100%. It's like
Yeah, I could totally see that being a problem. I luckily haven't had to deal with
Okay.
that because
Okay.
when you do have a situation like that, then you have to have some realistic conversations. Because I mean, I don't think anyone can guarantee that. I mean,
Right.
you can put yourself in a really good position. Picking investment strategies that have done high yields. Year after year, but no one could. No one could predict a 2008.
Right.
No one could predict a March of 2020. And for situations like that, hey, things are gonna go south for a while, and people have to understand that, and that's going to affect someone's average rate of return. If you look at an investment strategy over the 1 year, 3 year, 5 year, 10 year, those numbers all look different because it's an average of the yearly returns
Right.
of an investment strategy.
Right.
So one harsh year can really throw those numbers upside down.
Yeah.
So let's take 2022 for example. I mean, you have an investment strategy that has performed extremely well.
Yeah.
But in 2022, there really was no safe haven. Your traditional stock markets and bond markets were both getting obliterated at the same time because of astronomical rises in interest rates. Typically, those markets will work inversely to each other, but because of extremely high interest rates, that causes stocks to plummet because people are running from stocks to get higher yield. But in the bond markets, high interest works inversely with price. So the cost of a bond investment is declining. So the bond markets and the stock markets were down. Crypto as well in the midst of a downtime. And the real estate market has been kind of methodically slowing down because of rising interest rates and people kind of getting skittish to sell and move on to something else if they're in a property where they're either paying little to nothing or already have their house paid off.
Right.
It's like we want to sell to do something else and jump into another property at a 7% interest
Right.
rate.
Then you got to move to something, but
Right.
it's at a high rate.
Yeah.
It's a weird time. Is explaining for your clientele, or I guess this is more of a selfish question, but for your like sales processor and your clientele when you're onboarding them, is explaining or setting rather expectations a really big important step of the process? Because I'll say from my perspective, this is why I'm thinking about it, is like it's really a challenge to, and I feel like this is the same for real estate sales as well. It's really a challenge to balance expectations, but also like get the sale done. And I don't mean get the sale done like if like I'm screwing them over, but get the sale done like I know I can help you the most, but I'm going to give you really honest expectations. You're probably going to go to some other people that are not going to give you so honest expectations. So it's like I know I can serve them the best, but I don't want to shoot too high just to get the sale done.
Yeah.
Is that something you come across with those sort of expectations?
Well, my process has changed a lot, especially over the last several years. But as far as setting expectations, I think that's huge because if you're not having those discussions early, you're not on the same page, and then you're setting yourself up for 6 months to a year down the line where someone's coming back to you and they're like, what's going on?
What happened?
What? Yeah. So if kind of setting the landscape early, here's what we're going to be doing. Here's what you can expect. This is what you're going to get from us. This is the value we're going to provide, the service we're going to provide. Getting all of that out in the first full meeting we have. That's part of my process. So really kind of putting that all out there and getting buy-in in that meeting really kind of sets the stage for a much smoother relationship. We're on the same page, we're seeing eye to eye on things. They know what the plan is. I've shared with them what I'm going to do for them. Right. As far as service and support and follow-up. And that's really the key there is keeping your word. And, I think one of the things that we do as good or better than most is we keep our word. So whatever I say, and this goes back to growing up, dude, where I come from, your word is everything. So if you can't back that up, what you're talking, if you can't back the talk up, then, you lose a lot of credibility and respect super fast. Yeah. So that's just kind of a life lesson that I've implemented, into business. Right. And I think it's just critical to follow through with what you're saying, whatever it is. And I don't make big promises, So to answer the second part to your question, I will not promise the moon and the stars because I know there's a lot of factors out there that I don't have any control of. What I control is the quality and the service that I'm going to give them, and a level of expertise that I bring to the table from my experience and the amount of research and the support that I leverage from the different investment resources that I have in the market spaces.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's an interesting take. With the, that is a good point on the factor side of it, because I was thinking about that today. I'm like, gosh, there's a lot of things I can manipulate to, because I'm in the short-term rental business. There's a lot of things I can manipulate on the marketing side to produce stuff. Or to get more interest on the rental, but there's still a ton of factors that could be what the owner has in the home. I have no control over that. Right. What they allow as far as ages and pets and that sort of thing. So yeah, that's a good point. Luckily, I don't have. I don't think I was born with the sales bone in me, so I'm not a good. So whenever I close somebody, it's on conviction. It's not because I'm leading them on or selling them. But
absolutely, and I'm the same way. And I joke around, with my wife, and I've had had several really good mentors
Yeah.
in this business, and some of them were, more sales oriented than others, and one of them I would say was a really good salesman, and he was much more aggressive than others that I've kind of mentored under. And I said, well, if I had just be a little bit more like
Yeah.
him, maybe I'd be a little bit further
Yeah.
along.
Yeah, you start comparing.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
But I don't think I'd be doing it authentically then, because that's
I don't think you'd sleep as well either.
no, definitely not. I sleep really good every single day because I know that we're doing it right.
Right.
Yeah, I take more of kind of like a, hey, we're here to help.
Yeah.
I mean, you may have been, in on some of my 10 minutes at GBN where I talked about my background.
Yep.
And prior to coming into this business, I was a licensed mental health professional, and I have, 10 years of experience clinically working with, adults with different levels of mental illness. And I have a lot of clinical experience face to face with people, helping them and solving different types of problems.
Yeah.
So when I made a decision to come into this business, it was an educated guess that I would be good at this. I like talking to people. I like working with people.
Great relational skills.
I like the face to face, and it was kind of a hunch that I can come into this business kind of seamlessly once I understand it and learn the products, learn the strategies and the solutions, that I could kind of make something out of this.
Gotcha.
And just kind of using those however thousands of hours I had in kind of face to face, one-on-one, therapy and counseling, and also in group counseling and therapy, that I can kind of take that experience and apply it to people in a different way.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And when did you make that jump? When did you make the transition to this world?
So I made the transition. It was late 2013.
Okay. 11 years ago.
Yeah.
Wow.
Late 2013, I went out and got my insurance license on my own. Was still in my career. At that time, I was running apartment programs for a large hospital system in New York City that basically placed adults with mental illness into apartments in the community, and we wrapped like case management support around them to help them succeed.
Gotcha.
And they were like higher functioning, and I managed programs like that. So I had kind of moved into more administration in the latter years, but years of one-on-one clinical experience working with them in that way. But I think that it's really helped. But I got to a point where I was starting to feel kind of unfulfilled. I was like, this
The purpose wasn't there as much.
Yeah, it wasn't what I thought it was going to be. Going back.
Did it feel a little like repetitive?
It was.
Okay.
Even though, I mean, I don't think there's any. I don't think there's many professions that are more unpredictable.
Right.
than
Yeah.
working
Yeah.
with people
Yeah.
in that
Yeah.
demographic.
Right.
Because you don't know what you're getting every day.
Yeah, I'm sure.
But it did get repetitive, and I'll just be completely honest. The ROI was not there,
Right. Yeah.
I come from a place where the cost of living is expensive, and at the time, my wife and I had just got engaged, and we're getting married, and we bought a home, and it was a lot, dude. It's a lot to live in New York and on Long Island, where they have some of the highest property taxes in the country.
Gosh.
And I was like, this can't be it. Financially, because I was kind of hitting the ceiling.
Yep.
So I was kind of looking at it from that perspective. My grandfather ran a successful accounting business that my dad and my uncle took over.
Were you your own boss in the previous role?
I was a manager.
Gotcha. Okay.
So in the hospital system, I was a manager. I had direct reports, to me, but I had a supervisor.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. And how big's your team? I know I'm jumping around, but how big's your team now?
So right now it's myself and Janine.
Yep.
We are hiring an admin
Oh, nice.
and a brand ambassador that are coming on board.
Wow.
And between them and our digital media team that we've brought on, that's what we got so
Wow.
far.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So you're bringing on those people this year? That's the plan this year?
Yeah. We
Wow.
just had someone in the office earlier.
Oh, wow. Nice.
So we're kind of finalizing, putting the finalization on that, and bringing on someone to kind of promote the brand.
Gotcha.
And kind of I'm kind of dabbling with some different ideas of how I want to. How I want that to look and how I want to utilize this person, but it's going to be more of like community outreach,
Gotcha.
potentially going out to some of these groups,
Yep.
And beginning to kind of expand our reach
Right.
in groups that I haven't been able to touch myself yet.
Yeah.
Potentially, groups like CCAR
Yeah.
or some of these other groups.
There's a lot of them. I've learned. I was supposed to be on the. I had an interview today for Leadership CCAR, and then I looked at their schedule and I compared it to another schedule, another group that I'm a part of. I'm like, I can't do both. There's a ton of groups out there.
It's a lot
here locally. I mean, there's so many you can tap into.
Yeah, I mean, like for me, since I've been down here, I've really focused my energy and worked pretty exclusively in the Ori Georgetown Home Builders Association. Going back to one of your questions, earlier on in our talk, an ideal client. I work with a lot of builders, a lot of contractors. They've become a client of mine, back to the New York days, and I think that just kind of happened serendipitously. I mean, I come from a neighborhood where a lot of friends of mine, kind of went into the world.
Right.
Whether it be unions or starting contracting businesses themselves, and they became clients. They referred me. I got invited to union halls to give presentations, and little by little, I started kind of to grow that client type, prototype, and it became a good client because getting back to what we were talking about, they're successful. They do really well. They have cash flow, and they need help. They need help financially. They need help, choosing a strategy that's going to be beneficial to themselves, their business, their employees, that kind of thing. So we're there to support them with that, and it's become a client prototype that's worked well. And then over the years, I inherited a book of business from this really cool guy, native Irishman, and
nice.
So he was like really he developed this niche up in the Bronx in this Irish neighborhood, and I took on his business after he left, and it was all like Irishmen that were like
just pub guys.
Yeah, they own these construction companies.
Yeah.
They were all doing really well.
Right, yeah.
So, I started massaging and cultivating them.
Building those relationships.
Just as a servicing person at the time.
Right.
But building the relationships, and after, 2-3 years, they started to trust me and do business with me. So it's been it's been interesting, and it's been good.
Yeah.
So I came down here and I'm like, man, I got to replicate this. I got to find my way into this community here, because I saw how development and building was just kind of exploding here in Myrtle Beach, and I was like, well, there's a huge market here, obviously. How do I get involved? So I looked up the HGHBA, and I was like, all right, I'm just going to focus my energy here.
Yeah.
So that's really what I've been doing.
Gotcha.
And now, I'm just trying to figure out, what's the next logical step?
Right.
Where do we go?
Yeah.
Who do we get involved with from here?
What's been the biggest difference coming from Northeast to Myrtle Beach? What's been like from a business perspective?
Yeah.
Like what's the difference in like challenges?
I would say maybe being a little bit of an outsider, and I think that issue, I don't think it's as much of an issue as I thought it was going to be, because there is a huge migrant population here, from other states.
Yeah.
So,
and they're flowing in heavy now. I think it may have been maybe 5-6 years ago. I could definitely see that. But yeah.
So it's I would say it's more common now. to make contact with someone who, speaks the same language.
Right.
Right. And when I say speak the same language, you know what I mean.
Yeah, oh yeah.
We're from the same place.
Yeah. My dad's from Philadelphia. My mom's from New York, kind of Buffalo area. So
Okay.
I get it.
There you go. Yeah.
I know all their friends. They're
Yeah.
It's a different group than like the friends I had growing up down here.
Mm-hmm.
I love them. I love people from Philly. I think they're the funniest, man. I think they're so
But I'll
funny.
say on the positive side, man, people are just so much nicer here.
Oh yeah,
Dude,
yeah.
you know what I mean?
Definitely.
So if I
definitely.
pick up the phone and make a kind of a cold call
Right.
to someone that I don't have a relationship with, but it's just kind of like, hey, just reaching out, want to introduce myself. This is what we do.
Yeah.
And
You can probably have a bit more of a conversation versus like just getting hung up on, right?
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I did before. So I graduated 2 or 3 years ago.
Yeah.
And after I graduated, I basically had an internship up in DC. I thought it was going to be my dream job. Didn't turn out to be, but I was living in DC. I've never really lived in like a city before. That's not really my vibe. But dude, even just like walking down the street, I'd say, hey, I just pass people. How's it going? Wouldn't get any response.
Nothing.
They're just focused. Them and the dog walking. I'm like, okay, this is interesting. And after a while, I did it a few times. I'm like, I kind of miss that. I don't really like this, As silly as it sounds, I was like, I liked when people smiled and said, how's it going to me,
Absolutely. Yeah.
So,
when you told the story before, and I'm like, I totally get you.
Yeah.
Because when we
wild.
came down here and started, making our way, through town and walking through Market Common, because that's where we lived at first when we first got here, and we're kind of walking down the street and people are like, hi, hello,
it's so
whatever.
much nicer.
Or our neighbors.
Well, that's what I was wondering. So you came down here, like, how the hell did you, like, my I don't want to say goal, but my intention in 2024, one of them is balance. Like, I want to be more balanced instead of just, all business sometimes. I want to be more balanced in family and health and all that stuff, and friends and all that stuff, faith, everything.
Sure.
How the heck did you balance coming down? It's your own business. Now you got to build that. You got to build out friends. Did you have any family down here?
No.
So it was just a blank slate. Yeah.
So outside of a few like loose associations between here in Myrtle Beach and up in Greenville, which we were kind of torn between when we first got here, we didn't really know anybody. So we came here alone, and it was just us, me, myself, Janine, and Janine, Michael, and our dog, and it was we did everything from scratch. So, early on, there really wasn't much to do. So there was plenty of family time, and I would always been really diligent about my work and holding myself accountable. So, even in the months of July, when we got here, it was the end of June. Even in the month of July, which is traditionally a very slow time in my business, I would always make it my business to go and spend a few hours at least, in front of the computer, taking care of things that I needed to take care of and working. So I've always been good with that from the very beginning, and that's led to, it's helped some of my success with some of my success. But by the time we got here, I had a lot more perspective that I didn't have in the earlier years. Because what you just said, I'm really familiar with that. Dude. And, I've spent a lot of time, leaving my, house at 7:30, jumping on the train into Manhattan. I wouldn't walk through the door till 9, 10 o'clock at night. And there were a lot of days like that earlier on, 2014, 15, 16, doing this stuff, and beyond that too. But I made, some kind of changes and have had some realizations of how important it is to have that balance. And, I have a son who's growing up. Dude, he's growing up so fast, I blink, he's 7 now. When we got here, he was just turning 4.
Yeah.
We got here 2 days before his 4th birthday, and like that's gone. He'll be 8 in June.
Yeah.
You know, so it's wild. So I'm just really trying to do a better job. And this is a work in progress of just kind of slowing down and being present and not worrying, not having too much anxiety about, you know, we're here, but I want to be here.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I worked with a coach,
Yeah.
you know, for almost 2 years, back from 18 to 20, and that helped a lot.
Is it
You
a
know,
business coach or a
It was kind of, it
more
was,
of a
it was
life coach? Or?
business slash like life
Gotcha.
success coach.
Gotcha.
So
Gotcha.
yeah,
Gotcha.
he's doing it for a really long time. Very well, very gifted in the craft. But he really helped me let go of a lot of irrational stuff, you know, and that really kind of moved me along. And then I think coming down here, really, what's really happened, which has changed our complete trajectory and perspective on life, is really developing a relationship with God.
Gotcha.
Which, you know, I thought I had up in New York, and you know, but I really didn't.
Yeah.
You know, not until I got here and realized, you know, everything I was missing by not, you know, not having a place to go, a place to worship, that teaches the Bible, learning scripture, and just kind of developing a relationship with Christ that I hadn't had before. That's changed our entire family.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So that is, you know, not to get too deep with you, but that has been a major game changer for me and for our entire family.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's been awesome.
Yeah.
And I'll say, because of the church and because of the relationships that we built there, I feel like we've been here for like 10 years.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
so many people.
Yeah.
You know,
Just the stuff. I think you can tell a lot by a person by what they're involved in.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah.
And it's funny because there's a lot of people moving here, but it is a small town.
Sure.
And, you know, I'm starting to see the stuff I'm involved in. I'm starting to see consistent people. I'm like, oh my gosh, this guy's ingrained in the community. He's a big part of it. You know, and you're one of them. I think of a few other guys I see around the Chamber of Commerce events or different charitable groups. You know, so
awesome.
it's kind of an interesting way to measure things.
Sure.
in my opinion.
Yeah,
you
definitely.
Know? So,
No, I think that's a good point.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
you kind of look at someone, you see what they're doing, what they're involved with. It tells you a little bit about a person.
Oh yeah,
No question.
Absolutely. What about going forward? If we kind of wrap it up here, what's can you kind of talk about your goals on the business side of things for the next? You know, what do you tend to look at? 3 years, a year? Do you set it up that way or no time?
I do. And, you know, we put a lot of work into the 2024 business plan.
Gotcha.
And it is, so there's several goals, you know. Professional development is really important. You know, we're working towards bringing in that assistant, you know, that brand ambassador. So building the practice, expanding our, you know, kind of name recognition and brand recognition in the community. Of course, there's revenue goals, but before the revenue goals, there's activity goals, which I think are always really important because I can't control the revenue.
Right.
You know, but I can control what I do as far as activity to help generate, you know, business revenue.
Yeah.
So there's a set of activity goals that I put in place for this year, and we're gonna kind of use metrics that I've used years ago, but I've kind of gotten away from. You know what happens? You find a little success, you start to kind of spread your wings, and you get away from the fundamentals that kind of helped build it.
Yeah.
So I think it's important, you know, for me to start tracking, you know, from a quantitative perspective, my numbers. So understanding, you know, how many client meetings we have to have, how, you know, to kind of transition people from a prospect into a client and into closing, you know, new business and that kind of thing. So from a business perspective, we have those goals, and then you know, I'd like to finish my CFP, Certified Financial Planner, within the next 2 years. So that's a goal that I have, and that's been on That's been on my list for a while, and I've been continuously putting it off to run and grind and grind.
Gotcha.
Because you're certainly setting a lot of time aside for education.
Yeah.
And it's like, where do I fit all this in?
Yeah.
You know what I'm kind of like what you said before. How do I do all of this?
It's a lot.
You know,
it
and
can
it's
add up if you're not careful. You know.
Yeah. So you try to stay organized. You do the best you can. You know. I try not to beat myself up, and you know, if we had if we had a time, like, you know, if someone, you know, I say didn't have the success that they wanted, you know, in the past, say 2023, that's behind you now. Let it go.
Right.
You know, we're here now. It's a new time. It's 2024. Let's focus on that.
Yeah.
So I think that that's critical, and I try to remember those principles.
Yeah,
because that's all stuff that I got from my business coach.
Yeah.
You know, and I try to remember some of those things.
Yeah.
You know, that I learned in the 18 plus months of coaching that I did, because it's valuable stuff.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yes. I mean, someone said this yesterday. Your best days are ahead, right? Your best days are ahead. There's no reason to dwell on the past. Is what is. Learn from it. You know, appreciate that you had that experience, but best days are ahead.
Yeah, no doubt.
You know.
Today's definitely today.
Yeah.
You know, there is no tomorrow. I've run my business like that, so you know, make it a great day and give it your all today.
Yeah.
And how can we better today? How can we be better today than we were yesterday?
Right.
And I try to approach every day,
Yeah.
Like that.
Yeah. Yeah,
whether it's successful or not, that's another.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I mean, all you can do is try. All you can do is try, you know, or have the intention. So,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, definitely. Exactly. Well, that's awesome. Well, I appreciate you coming on, man.
Thank you.
It was cool hearing about how you do everything. I think that was a little different from what I've learned in the past about you. But if people want to find you, if they're looking for, maybe something on the insurance side or the financial advising side, how do they find you? What's the best way? Website?
No, thanks. We can be found in multiple places. Our website is semperfortisfinancial.com. We are located on Instagram at semperfortisfinancial.
Sweet.
As well as Facebook, Semperfortis Financial as well. And I got a Twitter handle, Eric Bitetto. As well as LinkedIn, Eric Bitetto. So
Gotcha.
We got our reach there on social media. We could be found in multiple places, and if we can be a resource to anybody out there that has questions or concerns about their personal or business finances, we'd be happy to help. Consider us a resource.
Cool. There we go. Well, thanks for listening, guys. We're gonna keep these going. These are actually really fun. So I'm gonna keep them going. Hopefully keep providing value. It is very helpful if you like the video, whether you're on YouTube, Spotify, whatever it is. Liking is much appreciated. And if you like it and I can figure out who you were that liked it, I'll figure out a way to get you more value. So go ahead and like it. All right. Thanks, guys. Peace.